Good evening. My name is Cindy Person. I am legal counsel for Keep It Green Advocacy. We are a public interest law firm that often represents folks who speak at public meetings. This evening at County Council, there was the final vote on a proposed ordinance number 2243, and we expressed our opinion that there are grave constitutional concerns about that. It's a 3-page document that is single-spaced, so there's lots of language that we think impinges on the First Amendment and the Due Process Clause. And as far as I understand, the ordinance was just passed and will be implemented at some point in the near future. So we're exploring our options. Thank you.
And there we go. Welcome to Real Talk Tuesday, everybody. Welcome, sir. How are you this Tuesday evening?
Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. Had a rough start of the day, and probably be that way for the next few days. But other than that, working through it. Made my way to the office here and trying to get some work done. And here we are.
Yeah. I tell you, a lot's been going on in the news cycle. I had our first topic up there. I didn't mean to put it up there yet. But the topic of discussion has been the election. The election results. Of course, we got that last Tuesday, and there has been some. Of course, I expected some reaction. A little. I can't even say it's more than I thought it would be. I think maybe it'll subside here, and then people will refocus and keep what's important, at in focus. But what have you been getting on your end down throughout town? What's been some of the fallout from the election?
Well, I'm kind of pushed back. I mean, I think it goes without saying that the outcome wasn't what I was expecting, what I wanted, to be honest with you, at the national level, and in some of the others. But it is what it is. But I think the sense that I'm getting, again, haven't dived too deeply into all the reactions across the board, but I think America right now is at a standstill, kind of figure out those that were, for the vice president, and seeing the landslide that occurred is somewhat perplexed. Although she came in, late into the campaign season, if you will, it still appeared to be, she gained ground and things were moving, but the results of what they are. And so, a lot of things that were discussed, or just the divisiveness and those kind of things. It just had people kind of off balance. They wasn't, and so now nobody knows where to turn. Of course, the Democratic Party is scrambling now to figure out how do we get things back on. So they're completely right now discombobulated
and eating each other now. It's been, I tell you what one of my takeaways from this election cycle here is on a national level is there was $1.5 billion spent in the run up to this thing between the two candidates. $1.5 billion. And I went to the where you can go and see the campaign where they're spending their money at, and it's interesting. It is interesting. And I think a lot of people are pointing the blame now. You got a lot of people who spent a lot of money who are downright angry right now. They like as if somebody could have guaranteed them some results in the election, and and it's
Yeah, that's not how it works, and we know that it's your vote matters, and I think that's one of the lessons that has to be learned here, accepted, is that if you sat back at home and didn't vote, uh, or if you wasn't aware, you got inside that booth and didn't fully understand because there was a lot of information to absorb
a
in a
lot.
short period of time
Yep.
that may have confused the average voter, especially for when the new voters. It was a lot, even down at our level here.
Mm-hmm.
Referendums we had, all these other legislative pieces of work that they wanted to get approved. Yeah, I think frankly it confused folks. And I've been in the booth, a few times, and I had to, really carefully go back and make sure that what I was voting for was actually, um, highlighted. I had to go back a couple of times, so I can imagine people who were just, and it's kind of intimidating, I think, for folks the first time, especially when you have that amount of information. So I think a lot of things plays into it, but again, the margin is so wide, you can't, you have to accept it for what it is.
And I think as I dug into to these local numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I saw that playing out. As far what I saw playing out was the confusion. Because a lot of people just defaulted and voted party line. You know what I mean? Because it was a lot of information. You know, um, and again, if you aren't the type of person that's just up on your local politics or your national politics, it's just, and like you said with the referendum, that was a lot to take in.
Yeah,
Um,
and if they weren't paying attention along the way, with folks was trying to explain what to expect, then if this was the first time you see it, then I'm sure it was a sticker shock for those who just wasn't dialed into what to expect. Um, and so then the results, as you look for the numbers here, the results are what I kind of expected.
Yeah, in Georgetown County, the Republican Party came out they came out big. You see here in the straight party vote right here, it was 12,888.89 on the Republican side. And you see the other parties. I don't want to discount the other parties, so let me read them. Constitution Party had 9 votes. United Citizens Party, which was, I think the candidate for that was Cornel West. He got 77 votes. And you got, and I you know what, I'm gonna do a little deeper breakdown and count those numbers, because you can count those numbers, those straight party numbers, and those numbers are taken away from either side. So but then you had but go ahead.
And I don't, and again, I'm not an expert on reading these kind of things, but it seems like everybody wants to have their own separate identity. Everybody has a party within the party, and then it's just it just divides, and I guess it's okay because again, the two dominant parties will always probably going to prevail, one or the other. But you can see, as you said, when you start to add the numbers up, one of these parties probably could have used it had the race been a little bit closer. Again, at the national level.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and here's the breakdown from on the presidential race in Georgetown County by, as you can see there, by the colors. So
12,000 votes separation.
Yeah.
11, 12.
Yeah, and one of the numbers that stuck out to me in this election, I'm gonna pull this up, and this is gonna jump off the screen right here, is the fact that most people early voted. A lot of people early voted. I'm gonna show you that in this. I guess we can see that in this number here. Let me break this down here a little bit more.
Yeah, I think when you have these were the exciting races. There's a lot was at stake, and I think folks didn't want to miss that opportunity to cast their vote. And so they were pouring in. The numbers were big. Just didn't anticipate it was going to be what the outcome shows us.
What is that noise?
No, I don't even hear it.
So it's on my end.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's coming out on my phone here. Okay, I can't even hear it. I mean, I can hear it, but I can't find it. But let's see, turnout. Is this where I found those numbers at? Let's see here. But yeah, it's the numbers. It's a category on here that gives me the results. All right, let's see. Gives me the early voting numbers. And again, those numbers were people again with so much people wanted to be a part of this race, and they got their votes in early. Like, let me go ahead and cast my vote before somebody take it from me.
Yeah, just not enough. And I can't recall how many votes were left on the table in South Carolina.
About 500,000.
500,000.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's consistent with that
Was
number.
14 million across the country.
I'm not sure about across the country, but that number stuck out to me because when the Democratic chair for Williamsburg County, Ms. Wilson, was on, she broke down how she broke that number down where that number consistently did not did not come out. Did not come out. Where's this thing at? In the early voting precinct reporting. Well, anyway, but let's look at some of the sheriff's numbers. That's some interesting.
Let's that's really our focus too. Is what are the impact? And I think that's one thing. Hopefully, we've learned or will learn here is that the immediate impact on the people on regardless of where you are is from that county down to the municipality. In terms of what change can have an immediate impact on your life, and so you would expect that you would have had a greater turnout for those candidates, but the numbers just doesn't support that.
No, and I'm not a fan of party line voting. I'm just not a fan of that because, and the reason why I'll give you an example here. Take for example, okay, you see here. Sheriff Carter Weaver, of course, won over Burt Adams, right? And so Mr. Adams, again, unless somebody can tell me that he did come to Andrews, he took the vote in Andrews without even showing up in Andrews. Like, I'd bet and probably win a lot of money of the people who voted for him that could tell me anything about him. If I.
Well, yeah, I agree with you, but I think you will see that on both sides where people it's just party line. No one, you would be hard pressed to find many that went down and selected a candidate they thought was best for that job. Yeah, and so you will see as we look through these numbers
outside of Andrews, which is the west side of Andrews, outside of the town limit, and then the
actually north and south of the
north and south side.
Bad. North and south of north of Gatway Road, and then south of Myrtle is what's considered, and I think some other areas considered outside.
Yeah, and to your point, those numbers, when you look at straight party voting, the Republicans came out in a larger number and voted, straight Republican at a larger clip than Democrats did.
Yeah, and so then again, something that that party is going to have to address early on. So right now, if you're going to make a difference at the midterm, you need to be on it right now and getting people registered and keeping this fresh in mind that you lost. It's an embarrassing defeat that you suffered. So start your campaign now in terms of getting people registered to vote and focus on, gaining some of these seats back in at the midterm election.
because there's a lot of votes that was, like you said, still on the table in these areas where if Burt Adams had run a campaign where he got out and got to, in the streets like Mr. Cooper did.
Yeah, I didn't
Got,
understand that strategy.
well, and I mean, Mr. Cooper did it with a budget, with a shoestring budget. You know what I
No,
mean?
he did.
Now I'm interested to see how many people jump on board now, wanting to be, you know what I mean, wanting favors from the county councilman when none of them open their pocketbooks to help this man run. The ones who did, God bless them, but a lot of folks should have opened their pocketbooks, but
And that's the nature of the beast.
that's
They
the deal.
you may not get their votes, but then once it's all said and done, you're probably going to get tons of requests
Oh man,
for things that they want. And again, that it comes with the parking space. So again, for the candidate and for those of us sitting in the seat, we just got to be, you're mindful of that, but your job is to represent the people, regardless of whether you got voted on, by them or not. Whether there were some of the ones, mudslinging, you still have to represent the people. But you look at these numbers, and I think for any candidate, for someone that did not campaign, and you see these numbers the way they are, that means it's probably suggesting that you probably need to spend a little bit more time in that area and talking to those people. And again, I say these things, and I'm also taking my own advice because that's just how it is. And hopefully they're not voting for you, again, or not voting for you because of a party or because of your,
man, that's
your race.
here.
How much of all that's playing into this thing. We're not looking at the demographic of these numbers, but I'd be interested to see how these numbers break down, by demographics.
And you could kind of, you could look at it on this map and see it, pretty much. Just me being familiar with Georgetown County. You know what I mean? Your red areas are predominantly white areas, and your blue areas are predominantly black areas, and that's kind of what, you know what I mean? Potato Bed Ferry out there, Choppy.
That's why I have problems, right?
Yeah.
What about so Adam, Mr. Adams, he just I didn't see him. I saw him once on the video, and I saw a couple signs throughout the area, but not many at all. So I don't know if he was just
not at all. But and that's a referendum on the current sheriff right there. Here's a guy who, for all intents and purposes, did not. He put a couple videos out. He may have had a sign up here and then. He kept talking about Georgetown. So this should give somebody who was thinking, man, I could probably run. Yes, you probably could have won, because these numbers right here, given Mr. Adams's effort, he shouldn't have been this close. And that's my opinion.
Based on his effort, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, he shouldn't have been this close. And again, had he put, and this is all my opinion, based on me working with campaigns and doing it, but had he put the groundwork in, he would have made, a bigger splash than this. But I think that's just, that's an indictment on the sheriff, on the thing. Had another race that didn't go quite the way I thought it should go, with the school district.
Okay. And again, another area that they needed to be voters needed to be mindful of on because it wasn't, even if you voted straight party line, you would have missed.
And I really believe that happened a lot, just based on the vote total, the numbers. It did not, you got to where people, again, like you said, voted party and closed it out. Didn't go down and all right, where are we at? School District 3. All right, yeah, and that race was between the two Johnsons, not related, Eileen and Sandra Johnson. And let's get a breakdown on this map here. What is this? Show the map. Show the chart. Let's look at the charts. Let's look at the map. I mean. All right, and there we go. Now, from this, okay, and you can see here, the dark green is Miss Johnson, and
The blue is Miss Johnson.
what? Yeah, and the blue is Miss Johnson. That's crazy. If it's Ellie Johnson is green, and Sandra Johnson is the light, like the bluish, the
right.
Miami Dolphin color, I guess you teal. And from here, land wise, Miss Sandra Johnson took more, areas. I don't know. Maybe those areas weren't as solid. I mean, as heavily populated. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's just spread.
Okay, and there we go.
What looks like is that certainly Andrews.
Wow, and that's a big chunk right there that's missing there. I mean, where it's divided at. So that's part of. That's Andrews right here, and then you got outside of Andrews. So right there, I think we went by 72 votes inside of Andrews. Outside of Andrews, she won. Miss Sandra Johnson won by 11 votes. And then we come down here to what area is this?
Is that Osita?
I think that's Osita. Yeah.
Lamberton, I see at the top there. Lamberton.
Okay. Yeah. I see it there now. And then you got here Sampit.
Yeah, Miss Sandra Johnson.
In this area, which would be Santee, huge area here.
She won by about 99 votes.
Yep. And let's see what we got here.
Yeah, landmass doesn't equal votes.
Doesn't equal votes because I'm trying to see where the big. Okay, there's a big gap right there. There's 200 votes right there, and that's just Winyah Bay. And then let's get up here, Georgetown number 3. That's 20 votes there. 40. Oh no, it's 100 and something votes there. That'd be Pennyroyal. Yeah, that's where she took it at, up in the Pennyroyal. What's this? Spring Gully. Well, Spring Gully was close.
And truthfully, I don't know how much groundwork was done by Miss Sandra. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because the total votes on this was not very, and compare, given the significance of the just the general election, the vote count, I thought wasn't very. I didn't think it was very high. It was 2,268 votes total.
Yeah, no, that's a low turnout. But again, where these particular where the school board was on the ballot, you had to deliberately go to it.
Yeah.
So you see all the other numbers in the same district and how many came out, and then you see the low numbers here. I think that's an indication that it just was not, visible.
It was low information. Again, a lot more groundwork needed to be done. You guys keep sleeping on Welcome to Andrews podcast at the last minute, and that's going to be it. Again, like the mayor was saying earlier, for those of you who plan to run in this next cycle, the time is now. The time is now to get informed. The time is now to hit the ground. The time is now to start making these inroads into these communities that, that you're not trying to get a pulse of, what's going on in that community, what's going on with the people in that area. Yeah.
And I think you're going to have this midterm because they'll find their footing. I think the Democratic Party will find their footing because again, after a slacking like this, it's nowhere but up. So people will get energized, and you'll see because what's going to happen with all of the things that's going to take place here after this, this transfer of power, authority, whatever the case may be. They're going to start to see the things that I believe that was clearly written in this project 2025 going to be starting to come alive, and those things that the promises that were made along the campaign they're going to start happening, and it's going to have an impact that these people wasn't expecting. And I believe that you will see a major shift in 2 years at the national level in terms of because, and I'm sure it'll be decided here soon, it could be all power, all authority is going to rest in the Republicans' hand.
Yeah, because they took the the White House, they took the Senate, they took the House.
Has a decision been made on the House?
That hasn't been made yet, but
yeah. And so you have this conversation now ongoing about the Supreme Court. One of the
two of them.
Yeah, two of them
going to be retiring.
So that's going to be real interesting here because names are being floating around. The vice president may be nominated as one, and I'm sure the Republicans don't want that to happen for her to become a Supreme Court judge. And so a lot of things that are still kind of out there in the balance that we need to stay alert to, but it's going to be interesting to see how things happen because again, we understand, the president-elect, he makes decisions right away. I'm paying attention to see who he's bringing on into his cabinet. So one of the authors of the 2025 project is now one of his, and I can't recall where he will be on the staff, but one of the authors of that document is one of his cabinet members now. So pay attention, see how it unfolds, because I think there's going to be a lot going on. It's going to be happening early on in January, these first few months. And you'll see how that now ignites the other party, and then how the supporters respond to it, whether it has that immediate impact they're looking for or it's totally different. So it'd be interesting. And I don't think it's, again, the country does not need to be ruled or governed by one party. It's not supposed to be that way. But that's what we voted for, and that's where we are. And we'll see how it unfolds, and then we'll see the response. I think a lot of people right now are still kind of in that shocked phase.
Yeah,
trying to figure out, and then you remember the whole big talk we talked about a little bit. It was this whole big subject about the black men, swinging the election one way or the other. And so now you see the results. I don't know if you have that queued up, but you can see that breakdown across demographics at the national level, and where I think 20% of African American men actually voted, for President-elect Trump. And then, but you see on the Latino side, those numbers were huge.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you what I think is driving that. A lot of what's driving that is the fact that the policies that are being pushed forward by some of these gender policies don't set well in the Hispanic community. They don't set well in the black community. And but really, with these people here, you're talking about machismo and all this other stuff going on here. You think white men don't want a woman being in charge.
No, that's not gonna happen.
You talking about and I don't think that is a. I think that's I don't think I'm being offensive when I say that, because the facts bear that out. Like, the fact of the matter is that black men had the right to vote in the United States before white women. Period. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so this is that kind of thing that but with the Hispanic You would think, and I'm gonna tell you, a lot of folks making the mistake, and they do this with us, with black folks too. They like to lump us in with the criminal. They're like, well, Trump did criminal reform. Well, everybody ain't a damn criminal. You know what I mean?
No,
And
no.
so they think that every Hispanic sympathizes with the illegal immigration. The immigration thing. They really they could be they are so far from that. You know what I mean? So far off in that thinking. But I think a couple of those things were kind of factors in why that number, because that number grew from 2016. So it's something that the Democratic Party really has to focus on. Is like, okay, well, what is it that's pushing these people, this far, this over to the right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing that and I don't know if we get having a whole lot of conversations about it, is that you look at, I think the character of the candidates were pushed aside. So it really boiled down to economics and immigration, in my opinion. And so then when you're the incumbent, it's going to be a little bit harder because you're not going to get everything, all things right. So so a candidate comes along and say, hey, I can do this better, without having proven that, and you say the right things and you say it enough, then that's where voters go, and that's why they spend so much money to go down with that message. So then, and I think the thing that has people wondering where the country is that when you can have all these things, again, character matters, and trust, honesty matters to America. That's kind of our backbone. But and I think it was former First Lady of the House says this candidate can be lawless while this candidate has to be flawless. And I think that's where people are left puzzled, is that how can we choose this over this because of that? Because would you allow someone with a string of flaws enter in your home and marry your daughter? Those kind of things are what people really think about. But a lot of people believe that, hey, look, just give me my money, give me my money, and I'll deal with the rest of it. You don't have to be a man or woman of character.
Yeah, the Democrats really messed up when they stayed with Joe too long. They should have went away from Joe Biden earlier. She would have had 100 days to try to pull this off, and then Joe Joe didn't go down quietly, so there was rumbles behind the scene that he wasn't really on board with this. They were talking, it was a rumble, it's a coup. And then for Jill Biden to bust out when she went to vote, you saw her outfit.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
She had on that red outfit. And yeah. I was like, they signaling. So within the party, I think Kamala was fighting a lot of different things.
And she was. But I think when you go back to that, if I am a felon, and everybody needs to know that you can run for an office or at least for the president as a felon. There's
a loophole. That's one of them loopholes.
Okay, it's written. So you don't disqualify because you're a felon. In this case, there were 34 counts, 34 of them. And then, a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's what people who have common sense, not common sense, I take that back. It's people that see that when you look at, okay, can I trust McCleary if he has all of this going on? Or if it's this person over here who doesn't have those things, is kind of straightforward and a good leader, who's going to represent? Because as a soldier, and we talked about this before, as a soldier, understanding what those things are, the standards that we are held to as a soldier. As a commander, it's not a double standard. You can't have all these flaws, known flaws. You can't be someone who has had, sexual charges brought against you and still command. If you go back and look at any commander that has one allegation, you're an investigator. If you enter into an investigation, United States Army as an officer for sexual harassment, sexual abuse, any of those things, you're immediately pulled out of command. And a very small percentage of those guys, after they go through this long, stretched out, drawn out investigation, very, very few, if any, are allowed to go back into command. You're immediately moved away because now you have disrupted the good order and discipline of that unit. And so then when soldiers and leaders are held to that standard, then you have the commander in chief of the United States Armed Forces, who is their boss, have these things. And you're talking about a force that has to go deploy across the world. We constantly have soldiers in over 200 countries doing some real tough stuff. And if there's a double standard, it has an impact on the morale. And if you screw the morale of a soldier up, then you just put him in harm's way where he's not focused. And it makes it very difficult for those subordinate commanders to hold these soldiers and themselves accountable for their actions, behavior. When then I'm looking up here, then there's a different standard for my boss. Those are the kind of things I think that many of us are wrestling with and asking, say, how is this even possible?
And I mean, even that, you down on here's the thing, and this taking place in Florida now. I don't know if you heard about it, where the FEMA a supervisor, where she decided to send folks out after the storm, and it was like, listen, if they got a Trump sign in front of their house, you pass them by. Now, this is one thing to say that, but then she put it in like text messages and then in emails, like, so.
She should be, and she probably got fired.
She did not get fired.
She should have.
She should have got fired.
She should have gotten fired. That's not okay.
But my point is that this is the kind of, people going to be faced with that kind of dilemma. You know what I mean? Like, and
but what do we do now when we have a person that have served umpteen years as in prison? Probably one of the smartest, because you got some real smart white collar.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking about that, and I got a joke about it, but I was thinking about that. Listen, you know what I mean? Stop applying for them jobs and run for president. Because you have some geniuses that are locked up, have done some real bad stuff, on the white collar crime level. Yeah.
But you're telling me now that guys can come out here now and just run and represent this country across the world.
Hey, what they say?
And the impact that it has with other foreign leaders, because it's just not accepted. That's why you will see the Putins and the Kim Jong-il and all those guys on an island pretty much by themselves, because they're bad people. And unfortunately, some of these character flaws align with them. And I think that's what the heart of America is struggling with. Is this what we've become?
Hey, man.
I mean, you remember there was a guy that sat in that Oval Office that wore a brown suit and almost got stoned because he wore a brown suit. Because that's not the standard of our U.S. presidents. You're in, those are the things that are expected of you. Something that small, but you got raped across the coals. But now that standard has been changed, that anything goes. Just as long as you can make me $1.
And
that's where we are.
Again, I have my issues with what they call a fair and free election. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's this is what we what it lends itself to.
Yeah.
On another note, locally, there was two tax hikes. Again, when we were talking about voting party and then having to go down and see all this other stuff on the ballot to have to kind of siphon through. Well, the capital project sales tax, and they did a recount. So I guess the recount, I don't know if it's official yet, but
I'm not sure.
But it is. Let's see. Let's go back up to the results. All right, let's go to. you had two referendums that were on the ballot, and one passed barely, and one did not pass barely. And so here we got right here the local option sales tax, and this came down to, man,
It's
what
about
is that number?
64 votes.
Yeah, about 64 votes out of. Why do you think the voting was so close on these two referendums?
Again, my opinion, I don't think that voters went in there knowing that, hey, this is what, I'm going to select this and not this, because it's. I think there was something, again, how it was arranged in. Well, I don't know, because it was simple to me. You vote yes, yes.
Well, we lived that, and we lived the capital project sales tax in the other referendum.
We're still living it.
Yeah, still living it.
Yeah, still living that. We will benefit. We being Andrews, again, if the rules and the laws, not just the rules, just the laws are followed in terms of how this thing is supposed to be funded.
When does this capital project sales tax take effect? When does that start to?
Well, the collection period, I believe, begins in April of 2025.
April of 2025. Okay.
And then it goes for 8 years.
Okay. So they settled on 8 as opposed to 10.
Yeah, 8 years. So I think it's 4-year increments.
Okay.
And at the end of that period, then we can go through this process again, and I believe if, again, barring any craziness in terms of mismanagement of these dollars, I think it'll be something that the people will probably vote on as they start to see the results, because there's some really, really, important projects in there that, that addresses some of the water and sewer issues throughout the county, and other key things that, again, it was a very fair process, I believe, in terms of how the commission went out and brought all of the information to the people, had them participate as a part of this thing. And I think they had a better understanding. The loss, they didn't spend a lot of time on that at all.
No. And I don't think the penny sales tax would have passed had they not put that last effort in toward the end there, when they did that, whatever those groups were that did that campaign and Gab, which started a big blow up, because people were like, well, hey, how are you doing this? And then at the very end of the write-up, he had, oh, this is a paid ad. I think you should have put that in the beginning. But then there was another group that bought ads, saying, pushing for no for this. So I think that's why this passed as opposed to the local option sales tax.
And I'd love to hear from anyone that selected yes for the sales tax and knowing what they were doing. Wasn't an accident, because you're talking, again, 64 votes. It could have been 64 mistakes out of all of them in there that that an oversight or whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And
or just got exhausted. Exhausted at the end of that, and once you done did all this checking, then you get here now, this big thing pop up, and I got to read through this whole thing here I
don't believe it was deliberate. To be honest with you, I don't believe it was a deliberate selection of this and not that that happened. So it'd be interesting to hear from any voter that says, yes, I selected this one and not this one, and here's the reason. Hopefully we can find somebody to have that conversation with. Because what it really does, again, for those property, it would have benefited the property owners. So if you're not a property owner, then theoretically you don't get anything out of it. And 71% of those dollars were coming back to the property owners, and 29% go to county for their use. Which, again, I think the other mistake there too. They
didn't lay out what has anybody heard of a plan what they were going to do with that 29%?
No. And we're talking,
$29 million,
30 million,
mm-hmm.
$30 million over this time period. That would have just been there for their discretion. And I think it probably would have helped their cause had they had a plan, just like the deliberate process they went through for the sales tax. Here are the projects. Here's the money,
Well, that
allocated for it.
loss now. Remember that loss they kind of pulled that out of their rear when they got when Carter Weaver came at him about that $1 million that he needed. And
yeah, that seemed like it was a second thought because
this came out of nowhere. This came after, because remember they held, and this is me speculating, they held that penny sales tax until after your election. they announced that immediately after. They figured, damn, we ain't get them. And they announced that.
You think they were trying to get rid of me?
Oh man, that was part of the whole game, man. But man was supposed to come in there and they was gonna remember it's been said they'll fix that building when a white man becomes mayor of Andrews, South Carolina. So I mean,
well, it doesn't help that my mother's last maiden name is white. That didn't help.
We need to run that by them. Listen, we do have a white there technically. Come on now, give us our building.
That's amazing if that was part of the strategy. But again, you're right. So people are paying attention. People are paying attention. I think we're not giving the voters enough credit that they're paying attention because of all that we've discussed about the 2014 sales tax. They had to put the effort of being transparent and going through this deliberate process, which they did. And again, kudos to those guys on the commission.
I think you got sold. Look, these pictures right here, these pictures compelled them to.
So, and we were there. So I think that gave people, a lot more confidence, but I think they got tunnel vision on the sales tax because it was they thought it was going to be such a hard sale given all the baggage from 14 that the loss, and I think you might be right. If we go back and take a look at it, that loss probably didn't come into effect
it didn't. It came after
the budget
when they had that special meeting over at the airport,
mm-hmm.
and Carter Weaver put the smack down on them. And then they had that meeting. They had a meeting at Winyard, and that's when Mr. Gilliard and everybody else was telling them, "Hey, look, you guys need to come up with a different way to get You even spoke at that meeting
mm-hmm.
about coming up with a more creative way to instead of putting the burden on the people.
Yeah, because the people. Yeah, because it was already. I mean, they were at the point in the budget to actually prove it. I think they were probably at the second reading, and there was the millage rate was already at 50%.
Mm-hmm.
And as you stated, when the sheriff addressed the council that night, then the next thing we heard that now the millage is going to double because they needed to get this $1 million plus whatever it is that the sheriff had laid out, and this is where he was short. And he hadn't had, they hadn't had an increase. I'm thinking 2007. I could be mistaken, but they were operating basically.
He was saying they were operating on numbers from 10 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, and so when you do your homework and you can lay it out, and if the decision makers haven't done theirs, then your pitch gonna sound really, really convincing. Mm-hmm. And now you're at a point where you got to get this budget set within a narrow time frame from this point. Then you make knee-jerk reactions and decisions. Let's go ahead and double the millage rate.
Yep.
Yeah, and
I mean, to me, it was stupid to say, okay, well, let's do 2 taxes. That was, and I think they thought, well, you know what, we'll the energy for one will just pull the other one along. It would just, depending on the voters, just say, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
But I think in this particular case, the voters were in tune.
No doubt. Shout out to them 64.
Yeah, and they were watching, and I just didn't. It wasn't enough emphasis placed on this thing. Again, I think to your point, there was probably some assumption that if this goes, so would and then they had the signs out saying vote yes.
Yep.
That
Yes.
Didn't resonate with the voters, and here we are.
Yep, right here we got the capital project sales tax, and again that gotta keep them guys keep them honest, and things should be, that's be a big chunk of money for the town of Andrews when it comes to dealing with its infrastructure.
Yeah, well, and we didn't ask for a lot. We really went in bare bone. Here's what we need, because again, we understand that there was a high demand for a lot of important stuff across the county, especially in the Sanford, Santee, Plantersville, Dunbar area, where there is no, the infrastructure in terms of water and sewers is not there. And so we understand it has to be. So we came in, we did our due diligence in terms of laying out our projects, which, was recognized as we presented it through the commission, and just asked for those things that were critical. And then we looked for other resources to meet the other demands that we have regarding water and sewer needs. And so that's working out for us. And I think we ended up 4 and 5 and 12 or something like that.
And I think for the people of Sanford, and this is for the new what they call them, councilman elect.
Mm-hmm.
There's money. There's going to be money in there collected right now. I think is the time to go ahead and start. Over in Sanford, figuring out what to do when this money is available. So when that comes along, when that time comes along, you need to have that work done on the front end so that you don't get passed over because you didn't push or didn't do what you're supposed to do on this end. Now we got some time ahead of us, so you can go ahead and kind of plan ahead and iron out those things as to what is going to be the cost to the people, so that they can start preparing themselves if there's going to be a cost. You know what I mean? At the end of this deal.
Yeah, and you can kind of do the math. Best guess, if the collection starts April of 2025, and then from April to April, that should be $10 million, right? So then you look at the projects and how they're prioritized, then those are the things that should be addressed. Now, the challenge is going to be, I think, is that now you're talking about procurement, that having that staff to now begin to do the work, for the bids and all, the whole contracting thing. Mm-hmm. Is that going to overwhelm the county's, procurement office? Where there's help coming in for these people that are now putting these contracts together and doing this kind of business, so it's a heck of a lot of work to be done once it's
on the ground. And as I said, SAMP is good about that, and again, they just need marching orders now and there, and so again, I think this is a real opportunity for them to see some of that stuff as far as sewer, is concerned, because again, I am for the capital project sales tax. I'm just a little sketchy about the folks who are handling it, and that'll be your Georgetown County Council. Again, now in this process, we weren't there. I wasn't there in 2014. Wasn't there. Came to the game late and saw what was going on. In this case, somebody needs to, we need to get a regular update as to what that money is, and because I'm sure it should be a public thing, as hey, to this point, here's what's been collected from the and keep that, again, because that can give you an idea. Okay, well, if we got 100 million, or well, we got 30 million right now, that's going to take that project, and you can really start to say, make these things happen. Just don't sit back and wait until the last minutes, because again, there's going to be some more money needed up front to do this work, and now you need to figure out where that's going to come from.
And then the other thing, in which again I have to dig into the guidelines, will they attempt to do multiple projects simultaneous without having all of the funding available? So this managing these things is going to be critical. That's where the work.
I would, with me, they better do exactly what they're supposed to do. Finish one, fully funded, complete it. However the document says it to do it, and then move on based on the history of 2014. You know,
And I think with this one, they, because of the work up front that has, had to be done, the analysis, and then you're getting their best guess, a lot more went into getting closer to what it will cost versus what happened in 14. And then they added, of course, they got the cost set aside for any increase as things go along, because again, it's going to be much more expensive than what we anticipated in 2024 if my project, it's going to be up in 2028. So they kind of, I think they did the best to plan for that. But excuse me, we'll see, and we'll see. Again, the things that's driven at the top, the cost of doing business, the cost of material, contractors available, as it competes with other large pots of money for infrastructure that's going on. You're going to run out of contractors.
Yeah, that's
project managers.
That's an issue right now, right? You can't find contractors to take the bids. Right.
So it's going to be very, very interesting, and it can be done, but they're going to have to hire more. And in fact, it may start to look for some of the talent that's coming out of the IP, and in this huge shock that's IP now closing down, and all of these folks are out of. I'm sure there's some expertise that are in that can be now.
Is the town? Do you guys have any available position for maybe possibly for some of those folks?
Just a couple
of officers.
Yeah, police officers. Yeah, so certainly. I think there's about 3 or 4 positions that are available right now. That I think Chief just hired one that will begin here in the next week or so. But there's some opportunities. Again, I don't know if the available jobs that will match the number of people that are going to be out of a job here soon, but certainly quality people coming out of that facility that could be employed here in the county. And we're looking. I think there's going to be a job fair, if one hasn't happened yet, to address what has happened over at the international paper. So yeah, I mean it's a big deal, man. And my heart goes out to the families and the employees there, man, because that. The way I understand it, it was a short notice.
It may have been a short notice on. It shouldn't have been.
No, it shouldn't have been. And
the reason why I say that is because I did some research, and this company has been downsizing all over the country. So this isn't nothing new. You know what I mean? This wasn't a surprise, and then I'm not sure, but I don't know who is supposed to be listening to like the earnings calls, but they talked about this in 2 different earnings calls about this mill, Georgetown mill, being the largest one of the because at the point when they let that mill go, when they announced that. There's a total of like 1,500 international paper employees across the nation in different various places. Georgetown being basically half of that 1,500 number.
Wow.
Of the people that's unemployed. But yeah,
it's going to. I mean, you see, we're still recovering from the impact of Oneida folding in the late 90s.
Well, one of those. One of the spokesmen for IP said that he had already been approached by multiple potential buyers from that property. So it's not like it's been a quiet thing. You know what I mean?
And the young man who I spoke with, who works there, he said smart guy. He saw things started to happen over time. He was just paying attention, reading the room, and it was some indicators that something was about to happen. Now, he did not anticipate this, but he knew there was going to be some major change in that company. But again, nevertheless, we've got a ton of people.
Yeah, and that's again, we're talking the mill, but then there's going to be a down the line effect that happens also with this.
Yeah, you got the truckers, the trucking industry, the logging industry. Those guys are scrambling. So it's a ripple effect. Um, and again, my heart goes out to them. Um, Teen Zone.
Yeah, I've been talking to Pat about potential teen zone right there in your town. There, we'll drop that on you Friday or Saturday.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Sounds like a winner. Anything for our kids, man.
no doubt. All right, listen, I got one more topic I want to talk to you about. I'm glad Pat's here, because I guess he'll definitely add to the but it's one of them things that just won't go away right there, and that's the
Oh man.
yeah, some of the homecoming 2024 tailgate mishaps. And again, I'm not trying to be a troublemaker or anything like that, but I think stuff.
You got any? So just for our listeners, you got any clips out there that we can kind of show them?
Yeah, give me a second. Go ahead. Let me give me 1 second. Where do I have those?
Yeah, it's still some of the conversation has tailored off. It's almost like anything else. What's new on the top of his news feed, but this one is still requires some attention.
Yeah, and it's I think it's because it's not. I mean, I think it can be ironed out, whatever the issues are or were.
And here's my position. And I've spoken to some of the other spokespeople or person of the community. I don't think under any circumstances that this thing should be moved. Okay, because the money raised from this tailgating that Principal Mahone and the team does, you can see the results of that. That goes into the sports. I've seen upgrades in the cafeteria where things now again that just makes the school, just it adds so much to the school with these funds. Now, however, we're going to have to address the policy, and I think the other piece we got to understand this policy was put in place about 2 or 3 years ago at the district level. And it read then that, again, I'll just paraphrase. The bottom line is that if you're not in by the end of the first half, then the gates are closed. Now, is that fair to people who purchase online in advance and that stuff? Absolutely not. But that's what they were operating on coming into it. And again, it's like any other subordinate organization to the higher, you're going to have to follow the policies. And unfortunately, we had some really, it just was a bad look. But now, after speaking to the leadership at both levels, they are all meeting to figure out how to resolve this thing here in the future. Because again, it's a good thing. It's some don't want it, and I just think it's we should not take this money out of the hands. We can make there she is.
Peggy, I got your pictures, obviously.
One and only.
I'm just going through these right now.
Peggy was ready, man. Hey, she was front and center on that stage doing the live performance.
Oh man.
No, and nobody challenged her. That's what I'm just saying. No one took her in the good knees challenge. So, but Peggy's going to be the light of the party, man. She's a fun lady and always a part of what's going on the positive side. But so back to this. So there's some things to be worked out. I ask everybody just to be patient. Find the rep who's going to go in and talk to the leadership and express their concerns, as opposed to off the cuff saying we're not going to support the school, because it's still our school. We're still alumni. We have a voice. We just need to get in there and have this conversation with the leadership at both the and I keep wanting to call the high school a battalion, as opposed to I'm thinking brigade, the district, and battalion. So bear with me. Homecoming should be welcoming. Staff runs people. His attitude. 200, 300 people that bought tickets and couldn't get in. Yeah, and this is the first time I've seen these numbers. I haven't seen those, but if that that's huge. That's huge. And now, and I'm not a part of the decision making down here, obviously. I mean, but as we look around some of the other schools and how they, I think King Street was like a few $100s to tailgate and that kind of business. But if the money is going back in, if you look at your class, my class, we probably average about 25 or 30 people that comes to our tailgate. So you take that and break that down. Everybody share the cost, and we could probably, help the school even more. Again, than we're doing now, but it has to be done right. So we have to get to the things that Pat's talking about here. We got to resolve those issues right now, because people are still.
And from anybody that's listening from the school side, it's just I would recommend, again, just signage, like if you're not in by halftime, you can't, you don't get in. It's just that I think that was the biggest thing, was that people were just kind of caught off guard by by that being not gonna fence like refugees is crazy. And on that end, Pat, I don't like I was thinking about that, and I was looking at it from the sky, actually, and I don't know where else they would put the people. Now I would say that back entrance should be allowed to for exit, for egress, whatever you want to call it. But
yeah, and I think for safety, as to his point, for safety purposes, we should be, because these things are getting larger and larger every year. And so then if we don't have it, entrance and exit or an exit, on the backside over there by where the baseball field is, then you're going to have everybody trying to come out through one gate, and they have two exit points, and it's just so much confusion there. So I think all of those things should be on the table for discussion and to get resolved. One of the things I've heard from one of the staffs is, we didn't want the traffic going that way because of the players. I think that's something we could really easily manage. They can be out of the way and get, and use that thing, because you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of cars, and you just can't filter them out through one gate. That is just impossible.
And Pat, I agree with you about the halftime thing, but this is where we're saying that, like, we got to be at these district meetings where these rules are being put in place, so we can challenge these rules right then, because it's just like I tell my boys, if you get pulled over by the cop, on the side of the road is not the place where you adjudicate anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so yeah. Got shout out to Voorhees. Voorhees had a homecoming this weekend. What we got here? What did Miss Hannah say here? She says, I was in Las Vegas during homecoming and the Heritage Festival, and you missed a good time. You missed a good time, but I heard nothing but good things. Yes, and again, it was overall, it was for me, it was beautiful. You know what I mean?
We can always improve. One thing will change. I know a lot of folks was complimentary on how well the streets were cleaned the next morning. Well, that was it was the same men and women with the public works and myself, an administrator, out there at about 4:00 cleaning this thing up. We have to get more. Well, first of all, let's put the trash in the trash can. I mean, there were trash all over the place. We can't leave it like that, guys. That is, that's something we can do better.
And let me say this. Here's the big reason why, because the mayor said it earlier. Everybody don't want you to have that tailgate, and you best believe they don't want you to have the Heritage Festival. They don't want you to have any of that. Some people don't. I mean, they'll be okay, but we got to help out our mayor, right? When we have these events and things like that, which we don't have it all the time, but we need to have his back. And as far as, like he's saying, with the cleanup, the mayor shouldn't be out 3-4 o'clock in the morning picking up the mayor, the town administrator, the other parts of the staff. You know, when you know, here's a situation that's created for you to make thousands of dollars. You feel what I'm saying? You can make thousands of dollars in one weekend, and the least you can do is clean up behind yourself.
Yeah, and shout out to Mr. Cornell Green. He does a lot of that too on that end, and so but again, if we can all team up together, we're going to have more trash cans dispersed throughout the area, and we're gonna you know, require others to agree to clean up so we can again help speed this process up, because it is absolutely exhausting. And it takes several days to recover from that thing, because we're trying to put together a good festival for everyone. And again, it grows. I was a little concerned about the number of cars out there, because it just overtook the town. And so sometimes you can grow faster than your bones will allow you, and then things don't work out. So we got to manage this thing. But overall, not a bad event, parade, tailgate, game tickets. But you know, Pat will tell it the way it is. I appreciate you, sir. Yeah, and that's the other thing. And again, because this is the Andrews Heritage Festival, not just a certain segment of the town. And so we had asked that everyone come out and be a part of it. You know, the most diverse part of it, what I see with people that comes out, is doing the gospel piece that Ms. Angela Anderson, you know, put together for us. And that's from, you know, that was from 1 to 3. But the music is diverse. And we just want everybody to come out and have a good time. And that's what community do. Every town, city has their annual event for the community. The town doesn't make any money off of that. This is the give back to the community, for people to come out, fellowship, get to know each other. Because that's part of the challenge we have across this country. Nobody talks to each other. And this is what this event is all about. And just like the Christmas parade that's coming up, that's going to be another opportunity for people to come out. And I know, yeah, we're still exhausted. So that's the intent. But you can't force people to come out and do this thing. So then it looks like it's just for a particular. And so I'll get, you know, nasty grams. Hey, could you turn the music off? And it's one day for the community. Come on out and be a part of it. It's you know, and so I hear you, but I need you to be a part of what we're trying to do in Andrews as a community. Yeah, we need that. We need you out there.
No doubt. I'm about to pull up some pictures, some shots. Jay just sent them over to me. He emailed them to me.
Okay.
And these are some awesome shots too. So I definitely want to get these up here. But,
while you're doing that, I just want to remind people the Christmas parade is on the second Sunday of December, which I think is the 8th. This one is going to be a little unique. Last year we were kind of forced, because of the weather, kind of forced us into a night parade. This was going to be a night parade designed for it to be at night. So light your get all of your floats lit. We'll have Main Street is looking a lot better now. We have most of the lights out there fixed. But let's make this safe and have a lot of fun. So there's going to be a night parade on.
Oh, hold on. Pat said they don't feel safe. Pat, who you talking about? The coffee guy?
Yeah.
You talking about Pat, the coffee guy?
Well, I won't.
No, you don't have to.
I'll.
Yeah, because that clown came into town, and again, these people don't want you to, you know, and it's not all people, but there's some.
It amazes me. I've never seen someone come into a new place and be so just want to just divide everything, and always have something negative to say.
Well, he's a racist, for one.
I hope not, but it's just can't do that. That is not.
He is.
That is not okay.
He's a racist.
You come be a part of the community, and if you see something that is not, just hey, look, let's talk about it.
No, this is the guy that wants to approach people, put people, very off-putting. When he walks up with people with guns. The only Jack and Andrews walking around with a gun on his side because he's a scared punk. And this is me talking now. This is hold on a second. Yeah, and that's the thing. He walks around, and some people are off-put, really thrown off because they think, oh, is this guy a police officer or something? Is he with the no? And he's not. He's just he's a racist pig from Idaho who came to the town of Andrews, and he thinks he thinks black people are stupid, just from his condescending way that he talks to people. And I don't, that word racist, that's not, you know what I mean? And he's not, he's a bigot. He's a pig. That's what he is. He's a bigot. That's what he is.
But there's always an opportunity to change.
No.
We welcome everybody.
He had the opportunity. That dude came into Andrews with that foolishness. That's why nobody's buying that coffee. That's why he tried to divide the town racially, right? And again, he's not even from there. You know what I mean? You got white people there looking at him like, who is this clown? And that's just the fact.
Yeah, we can't have that. That's not who we are. Andrews have never been, that kind of a town where we just, you're going to have your issues here and there, but this cannot become a divided town like this country. We're not going to prosper like that. And so, I would hope that we all, take a step back and evaluate where we are, what are we doing in the community to make it better, as opposed to dividing the community by doing the things that we're kind of discussing here. That's not who Andrews is, and that's not what we're going to become. Okay, that's just not Andrews, South Carolina. And there are plenty of other little small towns that people probably be welcome to some of those kind of things. That just
Johnsonville, they can go back to Johnsonville. I'm gonna tell you that Johnsonville can take them back. You got a couple from Johnsonville, go back.
Lord, so hopefully we can get there. I mean, that's the only way we grow, man. We got new businesses coming in, and they came here because they see the opportunity. In a demand for the services that they're bringing. So let's be welcoming, and let's show a different side of what people expect of us here in town. That's why we get so much pushback from county others, because they don't think we're here. We're serious about growing and uniting as a community. That's it, and they have this ability to divide us. We should not, for example, be divided on the need for an ambulance. Who's up, Jay?
No. My bad, Jay. Hey, Hemingway, okay? Send her to Hemingway.
Yeah, no, she's in Johnsonville. She said, yeah. Now, look, come on, people. We're human beings, man. So let's behave as such, and let's love your neighbor. Let's just be respectful, and that's the only way we're going to grow. It's a struggle. There's the boys. Just a good old time, man. This is you see, it's unfortunate that we didn't have probably didn't have a whole lot of room either.
Any of the city councilmen there to represent the city. We did have Angie Anderson, Miss Angela Anderson. We did have, of course, the mayor pro tem was there, and of course, Miss Flaglin was there.
She had a front row seat. She was in. They were enjoying. I mean, and where we have it now, we left space where people can come bring the lawn chair, sit down, and enjoy the music. Those guys, they're electrifying. So if you're looking for live in the flesh, you're looking for a super. Look at this. This great. Now the other thing too, I see these cute faces up front, and I think that's one of the things we're going to look at next year too, is putting a curfew on.
Send them churn home.
Kids got to go home.
Golly.
That was that. Speaking to the chief, he said that's where that's where they were most challenging. You know, of course, we centrally located the APD control cell.
That's
Control operations.
where the kids were supposed to be, right there. Kid Zone. It was put on by some great new
That's a beautiful
businessmen
shot.
that just moved into the town. Right. Let me see if I can find them guys. Give them guys a shout out. They drop some bands on that right there. That's where the kids got to be, right there, not front and center.
Yeah, and it was a time. It was a cutoff time. They really enjoyed, you know, one of our local talent, you know, Muvana, and the kids really enjoyed her. But again, there is a time that they shouldn't be out among the adults at this time. So we're going to enforce that next year. Because the kids zone will come down at a certain time. That was a kids zone you were just showing. And again, that's great work from Clean Feed. Jamal, you and Jay, you guys did a fantastic job. The festival was broadcast across the world. So one of the performers we had there was just from Nigeria, and his family back in Nigeria had the opportunity to. What is it?
Hey, okay, all right, hold on. Let's see. Hemingway out, Johnsonville out. God dog it, I gotta get a place with now. Jerry, y'all gotta take one of them because she from Johnsonville, and she need to go on back. Okay, one of them. Now this other guy, okay, we can't send him to Hemingway. We can't send him to Johnsonville. Turbyville. We said no. We're gonna send him to Scranton. Oh no! I know exactly where he needs to move to. Coward, South Carolina.
Not Coward.
Coward, South Carolina.
Is there a correlation?
Oh my goodness! Hey, come on, man. There it is, right there.
On behalf of it. Oh my God! But man, yeah. So you guys, and again, anybody out there listening, if you want your program broadcast, you need to contact Clean Feed. You know, folks behind the scene, again, which is Jamal Richardson and Mr. Jay. Man, Jay was on here earlier, right?
Yeah, Jay. There's a link in the description, man. Click the link in the description real fast.
Yeah. And hey, there's another talent I just spoke with last night. When she gets on board, man, we're going to have a pretty powerful multimedia platform that can do a lot of capturing the history. You know, of course, right now I'm on the SA 250 commission.
Oh man, interview gonna be dropping tonight with Ms. Marley Canteen, Ms. Marley Michelle.
Yeah. I spoke to her last night.
No doubt. Did an interview this morning, man. Very interesting. Looking forward to, again, like you said, another set of lenses for the that's here for the people.
Yeah, I'm if I can, you know, because of course, you know, I've got a family emergency I need to deal with, but the plan is to link up with her in Pilo to go down to the museum in Georgetown. Of course, yesterday it was the unveiling of the Francis Marion large mural on the side of the museum down in town. So if you get an opportunity to go down and check that out, I recommend you do. But there's a lot of work, and we'll talk about that offline about some of those opportunities out there.
No doubt. Speaking of the Christmas parade, and there's going to be a night parade, right?
Yes.
Man, that's awesome right there. Bowman, South Carolina, move out of the way. Andrews is in the building. All right, Town of Andrews night Christmas parade, Sunday, December 8th. The lineup is 4:30 p.m. Parade starts at 5:30 p.m. 430 East Main Street behind Exxon gas station. Food trucks, toys, and craft vendors will be on site. Tree lighting at 7 p.m. That was a great event last year. So it was cold. So maybe it won't be that cold this year. Who knows? South Carolina weather's kind of schizophrenic. But the tree lighting is going to be at 101 North Morgan Avenue. That is Town Hall. Bonfires are going to be at the gazebo from 7:45 to 9 p.m. There will be coffee, hot chocolate, and s'mores. Vendors can sign up for. Are you going to block off the street again? Vendors can sign up.
Yes.
Okay. Vendors can sign up online at townofandrewssc.gov.
Yeah, typically. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
For questions, call 843-285-29 264-8666. That's 843-264-8666. Go ahead.
Yeah, what we do typically, we'll leave the roads blocked for a couple of hours after the parade to allow the vendors and people to get out and mingle, do it safely, and so that's just, we won't have any of the music. This is just the people coming out and enjoying and fellowshipping again. There will be parts, I think, down on the west side of the town that probably be a little bit more active in that regard. But yes, ma'am, I am on the SC 250. I am a commissioner appointed by the governor of South Carolina. So we'll get to talk about the Gullah and Mr. Austin. Now Miss Pila, she's a pretty decent historian on Black history. So we got to make sure that that's a part of this conversation, which it is. And we'd like to have, we will have a small team, again, being a part of the Georgetown County. And so they'll be able to, again, to add input to this whole celebration that's going to take place here in, I think it's 2026.
No doubt. Let's see, where is this thing at here? You said that there's where you were, that was in Camden?
That's Camden, a beautiful battleground out there in Camden.
They do a lot of, I mean, that's what Camden's tourism is centered around, the history, because a lot of battles took place there.
Absolutely. Rich history, man. So I think, I recommend folks go down. The folks welcome me in, again, being the newest commissioner. And so we had our quarterly meeting there in Camden, and again, beautiful facility, and met a lot of influential people who are certainly behind this effort to commemorate this time period. So we just need people to get involved. Don't be left out and say, I don't know what's going on, and have a lot to say after the fact. It's time now to get involved. There's opportunities. If you go to SC250 website, you'll see there's opportunities for grants and all those businesses. So it's well funded. We're trying to get more funding for it, but all of that effort goes towards this big celebration that's going to happen, and that's what funded the big mural you'll see on the side of the museum there in Georgetown. So let's get involved now. Let's not have this afterthought and say that nobody invited me.
The mural. Who's the mural of in Georgetown?
So you have it's Francis. So Francis Marion, but he also has, when I walked up again, I'm not a historian of to any stretch of imagination, but I am learning, because once I'm in this position, I need to know what I'm talking about. But then when I walked in and saw this mural, I did not expect to see representation of African Americans in part of this Revolutionary War. But for lack of a better term, Francis Marion, right-hand man, was Mr. Oscar, and Pilo can talk to you about into painful detail about his role in the Revolutionary War. Mm-hmm. And I will obviously get more familiar with it, but there's a story to be told. There was an opportunities for enslaved people to fight, and they were promised freedom and all this other business doing this. Some of it was granted, and a lot of it wasn't. But there were African Americans out fighting for the independence of this country.
Crispus Attucks was the first person to die in this war. He was a black man up in Massachusetts.
So here's an opportunity for us to get involved and have that part of the American Revolution told and seen in the books. I bought a print, so I'll have that, get that framed, and that's the only way you can ensure that the full story is being told, by being there, being at the table. And if you don't, just like this election, if you didn't vote, find something else to do besides complaining, because it's too late.
Yeah, it's too late now. We gotta rock out for the next 2 years. Yeah,
that's right. We're gonna be all right. We keep the faith, work together. It's gonna, just hold all of us that are elected officials and yourself and yourselves accountable.
No doubt, Jay.
Big J.
I can't
Hey,
log on right
Burgess.
now.
That's the mastermind behind this live streaming there, Mr. J and Jamal. Very impressive, man. You guys do great work. So glad to have you on the team.
And if somebody wants to watch the entire watch the entire stream of let me see where I can find that at for you. Jay, put that in the comment section, the page, the Clean Feet page on YouTube. If you could drop a link in there for me, sir. Yeah, so man, that's the topics I wanted to talk about this evening. Big topic coming up. We're going to be at East Clarendon this Friday night. Back to high school football. Playoffs kick off this weekend, this Friday. Any thoughts going into this coming game?
Well, I mean, we're traveling for a reason, so we're not necessarily going up against a slouch, and so we just, the guys have had a couple of weeks in between to get a little healthier, work on some things that we didn't get quite, and it's a 1-game season at this point. It's one game after the other. If you don't, it's over. And so I believe our guys are geared up for it. We asked for a lot of our citizens to come on out to East Clarendon and support these guys. I don't know exactly where it is.
It's right off of 378 before you get into Lake City.
Okay, so it's not that far.
No.
Okay, let's come on out and support these young men and our cheerleaders. So young men and women, let's come on out. We have 12 seniors. This could be their last game. We don't want it to be. So let's come out and support them, man. And that's where it's at. I'll see you out there on the ground. Barring again, if I don't, I'll have to see my family situation is. I may be needed on this end, but if not, I will be in East Clarendon.
In Turbyville, that's where it is.
Turbyville, okay.
But there's the link right there. Clean Feed, www.kleanfeed.com. Especially if you are like an event planner, weddings, we live stream weddings. We'll live stream funerals. We'll live stream anything that you want to get live stream. And we'll do the weddings. If somebody's got a wedding coming up and you especially if you got people that you want to get it to besides your guests, and then just to keep it in a real clean, professionally done way, reach out to us. We got some really good deals on weddings because something we have to be able to. And
that drone shot that you took from Rosemary all the way down to Beach. Yeah, Beach.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of my favorite. And then there was a still shot of the crowd that kind of captured a good snapshot of the entire area. That was really, really, really good. But a lot of, you guys, again, it's overall this great work that you've done, and we appreciate that. Hopefully, I don't know, will you be able to come out during the Christmas parade?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll. I'll definitely be there.
But
I'll definitely be there. Yeah, I'll be there to stream it. Yep. Man, that's the North Edisto River right there behind us, man. You talking about some water up here this past week? Had a major situation
you got a big leak down at your house, and it's not. See, I tell people it's not just us that struggles with these other systems.
First thing somebody would say, "That's St. Andrews." I started to say, "Yeah, man, they just horrible," But it's like, man, y'all better get out and realize these problems are persistent. They persist all over.
Yeah.
All over. Yeah. Miss Hannah right there had to navigate around, make her way to Voorhees' homecoming, because we had like 132 roads that were out in
Really?
Orangeburg County. Yeah. Between Orangeburg, Bamberg. Well, maybe just in Orangeburg County, but yeah, 132 roads.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't think we didn't. Well, I know we didn't get that kind of a rain, and I'm thankful for that. But you don't. You never want to see those kind of things happen anyway, because there's no the challenges that come with it. But that's why you had the crew out there today.
Yeah, they showed up today, and that thing was it was.
What was it? A 2-inch pipe? No idea.
No idea. I know it just kept spewing, and they my concern was when they packed it, make sure that I don't have a big dent right in the yard. So, but
they'll probably have to come back because it's going to have to settle in.
Yeah, they did. They did a fairly good job. I was sitting there watching them. But yeah, yep. So, man, that's about all I got for today. Good. I think we kind of got through some good topics. Especially with people with this election. People need to toughen up. You know what I mean? The democratic process is not always a favorable process. But
no.
We got a lot of work ahead of us, especially in District 3. You know what I mean? We gotta be there for Mr. Definitely got to be there for Mr. Cooper in his new job. As he learns this new position.
Yeah, you're right. Let's get out to these meetings. I think the next county council meeting, he will probably be in his seat. I don't know if there's one in December, but he'll be taking the seat here real soon. So we'll get there. We get out and support Dr. Giles at the district. Not just not supporting them, but again being a part of the entire process. Let's come to the meetings.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this here: Black people in Georgetown County, y'all better get up, man. Your county council has changed on you there a little bit. The complexion of it has changed a little bit, and so I know people are concerned about that kind of thing. Well, you better show your concern by showing up.
I'm an advocate for diverse, staff or council, whatever the case may be. That's not the case now. But I think, and I'll say this, and I'll be quiet. I don't think these, even at the county, we're nonpartisan where we are, and I don't think the county should be a partisan council either. Because right now it is the scale
divided. Georgetown divided. It lends itself to be Republican dominated. Just by the numbers, you know what I mean? Just
local level, it should not. Yeah, should not be. I don't know why we would be voting on party issues at the county or the municipality level,
the city level.
It's just people, it's community. We all should be, on the same page. I got it at the national level. That drives a whole different train. Down here, problematic.
Yep.
So whatever. All right. Appreciate you, man. This actually was really helpful because I've had a very emotional, draining day today. I'm sure there's more to come, but this has been helpful. I almost canceled on you. I'll be honest with you. I almost say, "Hey, brother, I'll see you next week." But I'm glad this is a good distraction for me, and I just ask for people to pray for each other, pray for our community. And certainly for the adults, man, like we have to be. If you're an adult, you got to be an adult at all times. I'm just going to say that.
Yep.
If you don't think our kids are watching how we behave on social media and in person, you have another thought coming, because they are. And so when, our First Amendment is our First Amendment, but we should have something that something in it that tells us, hey, this might not be something we need to
man, viral drives that, bro.
make,
At this point now,
make light of.
That viral drives that.
I know, but
viral drives that. Yeah, but
that's part of the challenge that we have in this country, in this town, this county, in this country. But we as adults have to remain adults at all times. That's all I say.
No doubt. All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate y'all for hanging in there with us. For those of you who have not already, please go ahead and hit the like button so we can get more people into this conversation.
I appreciate the comments too, Pat. Man, we'll hopefully we can get together and the others that still looking for some resolution to the situation of homecoming and other things that so appreciate your comments, man, and we'll talk soon.
No doubt. So y'all, good night.